The Abominable Love, a novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This is an intriguing epic story which resonates with love, resilience, courage, and sacrifice. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief paragraphs for a review to be printed in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This tale is a work of fiction, but the entire novel is based on a real love story between an Arab girl and an African boy. All names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used literary. Therefore, any resemblance to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is merely coincidental. Chapter 30. The third session of the trial of Insaf at the criminal court in Khartoum. Likewise, the second hearing is met by the public with a mixture of ambivalent feelings and attitudes. The female lawyer Siham Khalil has been accused of assaulting the police force and the Khartoum government. She has been considered to have gone beyond her limits as a litigator, and through her work she behaved as a police investigator rather than a lawyer. She's like the British detective Sherlock Holmes when she solves a difficult and complicated crime case. For those who are not in the know, Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character from the late 19th and early 20th centuries, created by the Scottish writer and physician Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Holmes describes himself as a consulting detective based in London City, who helps police officers and detectives when they are unable to solve crimes. Holmes was famous for his skill in using logical thinking, his ability to disguise himself, and his ability to use forensic knowledge to solve the most complex cases. Likewise, the shrewd Sudanese lawyer Siham Khalil collected various pieces of evidence, mixed them together, and arrived at a hasty conclusion. Through her second defense of her defendant Insaf, the Khartoum police officers have been accused of being thieves who stole the gold and money of a prostitute called Badriya, who was murdered by her brother in an honor killing. She also described them as swindlers who plundered the money of the wealthy family of Samir Wad Masood, the Arab fiancé of the accused Insaf, who accused her of lying to him, betraying him, and stealing the expensive pieces of jewelry that he gave her on the occasion of their engagement. It is better for the judge, not the lawyer, to do such work. Few people accepted that the suspected Arab girl, Insaf Sulla al-Junaid, was not involved in a disguised form of prostitution before her arrest by Khartoum police. They argued that a prostitute's friend would certainly become a prostitute. In the third and final session, the $1 million question. How will the shrewd lawyer try to convince the criminal court and the public that the girl who completely exposed her private parts and showed the black pubic of her hairy pussy and her big ass and naked buttocks in front of a wealthy Saudi man is not a high-profile prostitute? Therefore, they believed that the judge should not be deceived by the lawyer's cunning words. Meanwhile, the smart pleading attorney's office is crowded with media professionals who want to know her expectations for the final session. Everyone doubted her ability to acquit Insaf of the latest charge in the killing of the woman pimp, Haja Shava. Several journalists have interviewed her regarding her expectations for the outcome of her latest defense. No direct answers were provided by her to their questions. She only promised them to do her best to acquit Insaf, the accused, of the recent murder of the pimp lady, Haja Shava. In the last session, the court authority tightened security measures. Armed police officers are everywhere. The notorious Janjaweed, who have come to be known as the Rapid Support Forces, outnumbered the police. In addition, a respectable number of military soldiers are also stationed in different corners of the court. They are armed to the teeth and equipped to confront any riots. Spies, government agents, and morality police known as the Police of Allah are also spread throughout the public. They are wearing civilian clothes, but underneath they are hiding their assault rifles. The accused Arab girl, Insaf Sulla al-Junaid, has been escorted into the courtroom under tight security. She is now not bound hands and feet, as was the case in the previous two sessions. She is wearing the immodest dress given to her by the late pimp, Haja Shava. It is a dress specially designed to reveal the greatest amount of female hidden charm. It is known among young teenagers as the separation of religion from state. This means exposing the girl's private parts as much as possible. Therefore, the revealing dress exposed the shoulders, chest, half of the nipples, and the breasts of the beautiful and sexy accused Arab damsel Insaf, as well as her large buttocks. A long cut in the dress, from her waist to her feet, revealed her right leg, thigh, hip, and red underwear as she walked into the courtroom. The tailor of the pimp designed it, Haja Shada, to expose as much of Insaf's sexy body as possible to entice her wealthy clients, especially the rich old Arab geezer Sheikh Abdo. She kidnapped Insaf and intended to lock her up in her house to make money from wealthy lustful men through her beauty and sexy body. The lawyer Siham Khalil has become extremely upset when she saw her accused client in that scandalous and inappropriate dress. Before the first session, she recommended to the prison authority that the suspected Arab girl, Insaf, be allowed to wear during each of the 3 sessions one of the 7 dresses that her African friend Deng had bought and given to her. The prison authority accepted the request and allowed Insaf to wear the modest clothing only during the first and second sessions. The lawyer guessed correctly that some prison guards were conspiring with some police officers who did it intentionally. They bribed the women's prison administration and some of the guards and made them force the accused, Insaf, to wear this scandalous dress. They want to show the judge, the jury, and the entire public how revealing her clothes were and how tempting her semi-naked body was when she met the old Saudi man, Sheikh Abdo, before she stripped completely naked in front of him and showed him the black pubic hair of her pussy, her naked breasts, her big buttocks, and even her large ass. They want to prove that only a street prostitute would agree to wear such revealing clothing to entice men in a public place. Therefore, the smart attorney Siham Khalil concluded that some malicious people are working against the case from within the police department. Either the government put pressure on the prison administration, or the police wanted to take revenge for her assault on them. In this case, the judge, jury, and public may reject her defense of Insaf in the recent murder. As she approached the judge, Siham's face showed indescribable anger, her steps are unstable, and her legs and hands are shaking. Instead of the lawyer opening her large red file as usual and removing the required papers, Siham slowly placed her file on the table and raised her face. After that, she opened her clothes and removed her sari top from her entire body. The judge, the jury, and the audience have become extremely shocked when they saw an adult woman taking off her clothes in court as if she wanted to jump into the swimming pool or the Nile beach in a bikini and bra or swim in a mirage. The dress underneath her undone sari is so short that it barely covers her sexy hips. Her legs are long, and her thighs are sexy and fully exposed. Her shoulders are completely exposed too. Her short dress clung to her body and showed off her big, sexy buttocks. If she leaned forward slightly or lowered her body down, everyone in the audience might see parts of her body that had not yet been revealed, such as her little black underwear, her pink bra, her upper thighs, and her hips. Then the beautiful and sexy lawyer grabbed her Sudanese sari and tore it into 2 equal parts from top to bottom. She put the first half on the table and took the second half to her accused defendant, Insaf. The audience, judge, and jury are still in shock. None of them uttered a word of protest, admiration, or denunciation. When Siham arrived at Insaf, she carefully wrapped her semi-naked body with the first half of her split sari. She carefully covered all exposed parts of her client's body. Even her long black hair, which is down to her buttocks, is hidden under the sari. The accused, Insaf, now looks as if she is wearing the abaya and hijab when she was doing so in the house of the good man, Haj Abdullah, before the pimp woman, Haja Shada, kidnapped her and forced her to wear that revealing dress. Then the bold lawyer returned to her table, took the other half of the sari, and covered her exposed body. After she did that, she opened her huge red file and took out some of her papers. Before she began her third defense, an angry bearded man stood up from the audience and shouted at the judge. These court proceedings must be stopped immediately, and this infidel feminist must be excluded from defending the case. More than that, she should be punished because she exposed her private parts to the public. The judge answered loudly, "Sir, can you sit down and not speak again?" The man asked, "Do you know who I am?" The judge replied, "I don't care who you are. I am the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments. Sir, I told you to sit down and shut up, and if you talk to me again, I will throw you out of the courtroom. How dare you address me as if I am a court bailiff? Even if the President of the Democratic Republic of Sudan comes here and tries to interfere in the trial, I will expel him from my court." The bold behavior of the smart lawyer Siham Khalil and the courageous words of the brave judge have filled the hearts of the audience with great admiration. Despite this, none of them have the courage to clap their hands or cheer with their voices. There is complete silence, as if the attendees are in a mosque waiting for the imam, the judge, and the lawyer, the ma'mun, to lead them in one of their daily compulsory 5 prayers. Then the bold and gallant defender, Siham Khalil, broke the wall of silence and shouted in a very loud voice, "If my defendant, Insaf, had been accustomed to wearing such a scandalous and indecent dress that the Women's Prison Administration forced her to wear in the last session today, she would not have received shelter from Haj Abdullah's family." She then waited a few minutes to see if anyone in the courtroom wanted to challenge her statements about her client. This type of clothing is intended for bad women and prostitutes, but not for a girl with good morals like Insaf. This time, the bold lawyer looked directly into the face of the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments and waited for his reaction. His Excellency turned his angry, bearded face in the opposite direction to avoid her brave challenge. "Today I will expose people who hide their evil motives under the cloak of religion and the umbrella of law. Today, I'm going to drop a bomb in this court, and I don't care who gets hurt." While she was uttering these words of challenge, the lawyer hit the table with her fist 3 times. "Today, I will prove to the court that the church pastor who accused Insaf of theft is himself a thief, and the police officer who accused Insaf of adultery is an adulterer himself." Siham stopped and looked at the Minister of Religious Affairs again, but he avoided any eye contact with her and quickly turned his turbaned square head in the other direction. Then she looked at the line of police officers, but they ducked their heads to avoid her defiant gaze. If Insaf had broken into the pastor's office and stolen the church's money from his safe, she would not have searched for a piece of moldy bread and rotten fruit in the trash container. She was not going to spend her first night in a dirty public women's washroom. She would not have slept during her second night in a hole under the Omdurman Bridge. Her savior was Haj Abdullah, and he can testify in court where he found Insaf on the 3rd day after she escaped from the pastor's house, which was located inside the church complex. Then the lawyer Siham pointed with her right hand towards Haj Abdullah, who is not sitting far away from her. This is Haj Abdullah's statement, and I am quoting it from the statements he made to me. "I saw the noble Arab girl Insaf bent in a garbage container with 2 stray dogs, looking for something to eat. I wept when I saw a noble Arab Muslim girl standing inside a smelly trash can and looking for something to eat. Therefore, I took her to my house and asked my wife, Haja Maryam, to feed her and give her water to drink." The good man, Haj Abdullah, wiped some tears from his bearded face when he heard the lawyer read his statement. The pleader Siham was also unable to complete her speech until she took out her handkerchief and wiped away her tears. When she tried to speak again, her voice choked with sadness. And so, she said the following sentences in a tearful voice. "The Coptic church pastor sitting there is a false clergyman. He lied to Insaf, he lied to the police, and he lied to his church. Insaf was deceived by him when he claimed that he discovered her involvement in the murder of her friend Badria through an article he read in a newspaper. Now let him come forward and tell the court how he knew that Ashraka and Ilham were the names of the same girl whom we know as Insaf. I have here in my file a copy of the newspaper that announced the killing of Badria Adarub and mentioned her roommate Ashraka as the main accused. The newspaper did not include a photo of the fugitive accused, Ashraka." The lawyer put down her papers and looked at the church pastor, who is sitting in the first row among the dignitaries. The cunning Pastor David responded with an angry face and remained sitting in his chair as if the challenge is not his. Then Siham said there may be some confusion about the 3 names of the girls I mentioned, so it needs some clarification. When Insaf escaped from the body of her friend Badria, she changed her name from Ashraka to Ilham. As a result, for the pastor and his Christian family and church congregation Insaf was known to them as Ilham. I asked the Reverend Pastor David about this matter, and this is what he told me. He said to me a woman from his church named Esther Abtanagoa told him that Ashraka and Ilham were two names for the same Muslim girl. I approached this woman whom the pastor and his congregation call Mrs. Holly because of her so-called holiness and righteousness. Mrs. Holly claimed that God revealed to her the secret information that had been hidden from them by Insaf through the Holy Spirit. Moreover, she said that God gifted her to know the crimes committed by evil men and to discern the sins committed by bad women such as adultery, theft, murder, and the like. When she made such a strange claim, I challenged her to tell me Ilham's real name before she fled from her family in the city of Gadaref, but she could not. She's sitting here in court. Let Mrs. Holly, the prophetess and fortune-teller, come forward and tell the judge the name of one of those sitting to her left or to her right. When the lawyer challenged the pastor and Mrs. Holly, the audience clapped their hands for a long time. Of course, most of the attendees are Muslims, so they are happy when the church pastor turned out to be a liar and one of his church members is an impostor, Christian woman. Before resuming her defense, Siham sipped from a cup of water. While she was putting the cup to her lips, she looked at the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments. The Honorable Minister turned his bearded face again in the opposite direction. Siham placed her cup on the table and smiled. The accused, Insaf, kept changing her name wherever she went. She did that to hide her true identity after she fled from her husband's dead body. When she fled to Port Sudan, she claimed that her name was Iqbal, and in Khartoum, she told her friend Badria that her name was Ashraka. At the church pastor's house, she changed her name to Ilham and finally told Haj Abdullah that she was called Aman, and she was from the city of Kassala. All the names she chose begin with the first letter of her name, Insaf, but she did not change the name of her father, Salah al-Junaid. After that, the lawyer Siham Khalil opened her red file, chose some papers, and said with seriousness and blatant anger on her face, "Now I will drop the second bomb and prove to the court that the police officer who discovered the body of the murdered woman, the pimp Haja Shada, inside her house, did not come there by chance. Someone phoned him before the murder happened and asked him to come over as soon as possible. The pimp, known as Haja Shada, because she claimed to have visited the house of God 7 times and performed Hajj rituals, learned that the beautiful Arab girl Aman in Haj Abdullah's house is called Insaf and is accused of 3 murders, 2 thefts, and prostitution. She got this information about her through the newspaper. The informant who provided the police with the photo of Insaf and a full descriptions of her alleged crimes is the same church minister sitting here, Pastor David. Haja Shada visited Haj Abdullah's house, saw Aman there, and recognized her as the girl Insaf, who had run away and was wanted by the police. Instead of informing the police, Haja Shada decided to sexually blackmail Insaf. When she succeeded on devising her evil sexual deal, she kidnapped Insaf from Haj Abdullah's house without his family's knowledge, brought her to her home, and forced her to wear the scandalous and inappropriate dress that the prison authorities forced my client, who has good morals, to wear today. Then she asked her to expose her private parts to a wealthy old Saudi man. The old Arab sheikh was an impotent man, but he wanted to enjoy seeing the private parts of the stripped naked girls. The pimp, Shada, gave the kidnapped girl, Insaf, 2 options, either to expose her naked body to the old man and let him see her private parts, or to report her crimes to the police and send her behind bars. My client reluctantly accepted the first option and showed her nakedness to the voluptuous old man. Haja Shada secretly kept her nephew Hamada inside a toilet in the house with a hidden camera and asked him to photograph Insaf when she stripped completely naked and revealed her nude body in front of the rich Saudi man. Neither the girl, Insaf, nor the Saudi man, Sheikh Abdo, knew about the hidden camera. The lecherous old Saudi man satisfied his lustful eyes when he saw the nakedness of the beautiful Sudanese girl and paid the money to the pimp, Haja Shada, before leaving. He claimed that he was traveling to his country that same night. However, the police did not find evidence at Khartoum International Airport to prove that he left the country on the night of the murder. His name, Sheikh Abdo, as a citizen holding a Saudi passport, is not found among the guests in any hotel in the triangular capital city of Sudan. It seemed that he lied about his real name to the pimp, the lioness Shada, and the victim of sexual blackmail, Insaf. I named her the adulterous lioness because she told Insaf that Sheikh Abdo was her Saudi husband and she was his Sudanese Al-Mizir wife. Then the lawyer Siham stopped again and took a sip from her cup of water. After that, she opened her red file, selected other papers, and resumed her line of defense. I know it is hard to believe that the lustful old Saudi man paid a hefty sum of money by check and went out without having sex with the beautiful, sexy, completely naked Sudanese girl Insaf, whom he saw standing before his eyes without even her underwear and bra. The accused, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, said that she did not have sex with the old Arab man, and I believe her words. She said that she was ready to take a virginity test to prove her innocence and that she was not a prostitute and had not had sex with any man. Unfortunately, the court authority rejected her request to conduct a virginity test. They said that no court in Sudan would accept the result of such non-Islamic evidence. They also said that this type of virginity testing goes against Islamic teachings on the privacy of any Muslim suspect. They also claimed that there are doctors who can perform secret operations and restore the hymen to non-virgin girls. However, without this virginity test, I have other evidence to support my client's defense. My client was not interested in the money the rich Saudi old man paid to see her naked body. When the lustful old woman left, Insaf asked the pimp woman to take her back to Hajj Abdullah's house. But the evil Hajja Shada told her that she had a friend, a police officer, who also knew about her heinous crimes, and he was on his way to her house. She then told Insaf that if she wanted to hide her heinous crimes, she should allow the police officer to have sex with her at least once. She also said that she would ask the police officer to use a condom during sex to prevent Insaf from becoming pregnant with a bastard child. The adulterous lioness Shada was a pimp and prostitute who traded in bringing beautiful girls to have sex with rich, lustful men, and, through that illicit trade, she became a filthy rich woman. Insaf understood that Hajja Shada had kidnapped her from Hajj Abdullah's house and was planning to hold her captive in her home to sexually blackmail her and sell her body to her lustful male clients. To eliminate kidnapping and extortion in the bud, the purebred, well-mannered, honorable and chaste Arab girl, Insaf, took a solid iron vase and hit Hajja Shada on the forehead, breaking her skull. The evil woman died instantly. The horrific scene of the pimp woman reminded Insaf of the dead bodies of her husband, Hajj Taha, and her friend Badriya. Therefore, the fear of the murdered body and the arriving police officer forced her to flee Hajja Shada's house. The lawyer Siham stopped her defense for a moment and looked at the accused Insaf. Her gaze redirected the eyes of the judge, jurymen, and audience to Insaf as well. She wanted them to think for a few minutes of what she has said about the moral integrity of her defendant. Then the lawyer continued in a loud and angry voice. According to the formal accusation, Insaf killed Hajja Shada because of a quarrel between them over the division of money paid by the wealthy Saudi man, Hajj Abdo. Now, how can we accept that Insaf killed the pimp, Hajja Shada, to obtain more illicit money when she fled her home without taking a single Sudanese pound? When the police searched the house of the murdered woman, Shada Hassan, they found it full of gold, jewelry, and a lot of cash and foreign currencies, such as American dollars, European euros, Saudi riyals, and Gulf dinars. In addition, the check paid by the lustful Saudi man was found inside the pocket of Hajja Shada's killed body. From this evidence, it is logical to conclude that Insaf did not kill the pimp for money, but for another reason. The advocate Siham paused again and looked at the judge to see if she has convinced him with this strong line of defense. The judge returned her gaze with a look that conveyed the message more evidence is needed to make her conclusion admissible as a strong defense for her client's innocence to the court. The police officer Yasser Talha said that a neighbor informed him of the murder. He also claimed that he received an anonymous call informing him of the crime. He said he did not know who called him. Any call made to a police officer while he or she is on duty must be recorded. According to his claim, he received a call from an unknown person in his office during his working hours. He responded to the call and went to Haja Shatha's house alone. First of all, how can a police officer go to the scene of a murder without other police officers with him? Secondly, where is the recorded message from the unknown neighbor who reported the crime? The police officer Yasser Talha's answers to these questions were not satisfactory to me when I heard them from him. Therefore, his answers could not convince the court of his innocence. He said that he went in a hurry and did not tell any of his colleagues about the murder. He was unable to provide the court with the recorded message of the unknown person who called him by phone. He said it was not necessary for a police officer to tell the court how he obtained information about a crime. According to him, this information must remain classified for the purpose of permanently protecting the life of the informant. The lawyer Siham became silent, then looked at the judge and jury members. Their frowning faces confirmed that the police officer Yasser Talha was right in his answers. They do not have the right to pressure him to give the recorded confidential message of his anonymous informant. The lawyer Siham has become disappointed but resumed her defense anyway. It so happened that 5 of Haja Shatha's neighbors were standing in front of her house when her murder occurred. These neighbors are here in court, ready to testify to what I have to say. They all claim to have seen the old Arab man leaving the house in a hurry. Soon after, they saw a beautiful teenage girl running away from the residence. Then they saw a young boy, whom they recognized as Haja Shatha's nephew, running out of the house as well. A few minutes after the girl and the boy disappeared from their sight, the neighbors saw the police officer Yasser Talha's car arrive and stop in front of Haja Shatha's house. Now I would like to return to my question. Who informed the police officer about the murder? Haja Shatha's nephew, Hamada, said he did not inform the police. Insaf denied that she reported it to the police. All the neighbors who were questioned by the police investigators collectively denied reporting the crime to the authorities. I strongly reject the idea that a neighbor, the so-called unknown person, discovered the murder, made an anonymous phone call, and informed the police officer. How could a neighbor discover a murder when he had never set foot inside the house? This information conflicts with the neighbors' testimonies about the 3 people leaving the house shortly after the crime occurred. The only person left was Haja Shatha herself. She called the police officer, Yasser Talha, not because she wanted him to save her from the imminent death or see her murdered body, but rather because she asked him to come and blackmail the beautiful runaway wife and have sex with her as a bribe. And, because of that, Insaf killed her. She killed her because she did not want to be kidnapped and sexually enslaved by Haja Shatha and her lustful men forever. Then the lawyer Siham Khalil placed her papers on the table and closed her big red file. After that, she got out of her chair and walked towards her defendant, Insaf Salah al-Junaid. She then gestured with her right hand towards her as she faced the judge and jurymen. This noble Arab girl, continued the lawyer Siham, is a symbol of purity, honor, chastity, and courage. Just as her name means, Insaf, she is an angel and messenger of heavenly justice and should be called Adla and Afaf, just and chaste. She chose to eat a rotten morsel of food from a filthy garbage container, rather than sell her body into prostitution. She preferred to kill rather than allow people to satisfy their greed for money and their insatiable desires with her pure body. She is more honorable than her Arab father, who shaved her hair, locked her in her room for 6 months, assaulted and physically abused her with his stick, and finally sold her to an old man to preserve his honor. This accused girl challenged our prejudice against other Sudanese. She does not see our African sisters and brothers as we see them. The Arab girl, Insaf, did not see her African lover, Deng, as inferior to her as her racist parents saw him. When she met him in her city, she fell in love with him. She wanted to marry him and spend the rest of her life with him as husband and wife. Unfortunately, her prejudiced Arab parents hated her and punished her harshly for falling in love with the so-called black-faced African Negro slave. To this day, the girl Insaf loves the boy Deng, and the African boy loves his Arab girlfriend. Out of her 3 lovers, the noble Arab boy Samir Wad Masood, the Christian Coptic boy William David, only her African lover Deng Nasir came to her rescue when she is accused of those alleged heinous crimes of 4 murders and 2 robberies. He appointed me as her lawyer and visited her with me in jail. When his parents refused to help him financially defend his accused Arab girlfriend, he sold his own car to cover the fees for her defense in court because he's still a student at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Khartoum. His Sudanese father threatened to divorce his Ethiopian mother and disown him if he didn't give up the idea of hiring a lawyer to defend his accused Arab girlfriend. When he stood by his firm decision to appoint a lawyer for Insaf, Deng was kicked out of his house by his African father. On the same day, the Muslim father divorced his Christian wife, who is the mother of the African lover of my Arab defendant Insaf. Therefore, he proved that he is true in his love for her and no amount of threat could stop him from defending her. Your Honor, the judge, if you convict this noble Arab girl, Insaf, you will convict the epitome of honor, courage, and purity. You will encourage prejudice, racial discrimination, corruption, adultery, and wrong customs and practices of our people. Accordingly, I ask you and the members of the jury to acquit the innocent defendant, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, of the false charges that were written against her. Thank you, Your Honor, the judge, the honorable jurymen, and ladies and gentlemen. Then the lawyer Siham Khalil bowed her head before the court as a sign of respect for justice and returned to her seat. The 3rd session has ended, and the court's final ruling will be issued in a special session soon. So said the judge, and then hit his table with his gavel. Chapter 31. The final ruling of the Khartoum Criminal Court in the case of the suspect Insaf. The criminal court's ruling on the accused Arab girl, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, was supposed to be announced a week after the 3rd and final session. However, it was postponed indefinitely because the judge and the lawyer were subjected to severe attacks due to their public and bold challenges to the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments. For 3 months, a panel of judges and lawyers fought against the Minister of Religious Affairs and the Sudanese government. The government demanded that the judge and the lawyer be replaced and forced into early retirement. They should be convicted of publicly insulting and defying His Excellency Sayyid Ali Muhammad Ahmed, Minister of Religious Affairs. The lawyer Siham Khalil must be punished, especially because she exposed her private parts in front of the Honorable Minister and the public. That's when she took off her Sudanese sari top and exposed the private parts of her thighs, hips, and half of her breasts. She caused large numbers of Muslim men, young and old, to commit adultery, because Islam says that the first look at a woman who is unveiled for you, and the second look for her private parts is against you. Despite all this, the body of judges and lawyers collectively threatened the Muslim Brotherhood government to resign from their positions if the judge and the lawyer are convicted, punished, removed, and the trial sessions are repeated. The conflict could have continued forever if a compromise has not been reached. The solution is a compromise, which forced the judge and the lawyer to apologize to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Ali Muhammad Ahmed. Both apologies must be expressed in writing and received in person. Once His Honor received 2 short letters from the dissenters, the court is given permission to announce its final verdict. The government prohibited any publicity or public gathering inside the criminal courtroom. The court is held secretly in a small room. Only the judge, jurymen, the public prosecutor, and the lawyer Siham Khalil are allowed to attend the court. In addition, the suspected Arab girl, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, 6 guards, 2 policewomen, and 4 policemen are added to the number an hour later. They all are armed to the teeth as if they have come to engage in a deadly battle against a formidable enemy. This last session began at 10:30 p.m. on Sunday, a working day. The lawyer had received short notice regarding the place and time of the court session. She did not have enough time to ask the African lover, Deng, to come and accompany her to the courtroom. She called him on his cell phone while he was at the university dormitory and informed him about the secret final trial. Deng arrived at the court building 20 minutes after the arrival of the lawyer whom he appointed to defend his accused Arab girlfriend. He has been refused entry by the armed guards. The courtroom is heavily guarded from within and without. Dang stood outside and waited impatiently for his friend's lawyer to come out and inform him of the final court verdict on his beloved Arab girlfriend Insaf. Inside the courtroom, the suspected girl, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, is handcuffed, legs shackled, and surrounded by 4 huge female guards. She is wearing once again the scandalous dress that the evil pimp Haja Shaza forced her to wear when she kidnapped her from the house of Hajj Abdullah. It is revealing her thighs, hips, half of her breasts, and big ass. Many other police officers are spread out in different corners of the small room. The judge and 4 jurors sat in chairs behind a long table. The lawyer Siham Khalil and the public prosecutor only occupied the audience section. As soon as the suspect Insaf entered the courtroom, the judge himself announced the court's final ruling. The Majesty said loudly, "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, and prayers and peace be upon the most honorable of all messengers and prophets of God, our Master Muhammad." After hearing the charges against the accused girl, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, the statements of the court prosecutor, Mr. Saif al-Islam Nasser al-Din, and the 3-day arguments of the defense lawyer, Ms. Siham Khalil, this court has reached the following rulings. 1. Did the southern boy, Dang Majak Nasser, commit adultery with the northern girl, Insaf, and impregnate her illegally? This court rejected the above charge and acquitted the girl Insaf of this false charge. 2. Is the accused Insaf guilty of giving birth to a bastard child and killing him? This court did not find the suspect guilty of these 2 punishable offenses. 3. Is the accused girl Insaf guilty of killing her husband, Haj Taha, on their first wedding night? This court ruled that the death of Haj Taha was accidental and not motivated by premeditation. Therefore, the court did not find the suspected girl guilty of killing her Muslim husband, Haj Taha. 4. Is the suspected girl, Insaf, guilty of stealing the jewelry of the Samir Wad Masood family in Port Sudan? This court did not find the suspected girl guilty of stealing Samir's family jewelry. 5. Is the suspected girl, Insaf, guilty of killing her roommate, Badriya Adarub? This court dropped the charge of killing Badriya against the accused, Insaf Salah al-Junaid. 6. Is the suspected girl, Insaf, guilty of practicing disguised prostitution while living in the apartment with Badriya Adarub? This court was unable to find proof or evidence that the suspect, Insaf, was indulging in disguised prostitution activities while living with her friend, the late teenage girl, Badriya Adarub. 7. Is the accused, Insaf, guilty of stealing the church's savings while she was at the home of Pastor David? This court dropped the theft charge against the accused, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, due to lack of evidence. 8. Is the accused, Insaf, guilty of exposing her naked body in front of the Saudi man, Sheikh Abdo? Based on the nude photos provided by the police authority, this court convicted the suspected girl of exposing her private parts in front of a Saudi man who was not her husband. This court also concluded, through her nude photos, that the suspected girl, Insaf, had sex with the Saudi man, Sheikh Abdo, because the legal text says the evidence goes to whoever is alleged, and here the evidence is available. During her illegal seclusion with a strange man, the suspected girl is therefore guilty of practicing prostitution. 9. Is the accused, Insaf, guilty of killing the woman pimp, Shaza Hassan, known as Haja Shada? This court does not believe that the lawyer Siham Khalil's defense is sufficient to justify the defendant's claim that she killed Haja Shadi in defense of her honor against forceful sex or prostitution. The following reasons made the members of this court to reject such a false claim to justify murder. The suspected girl deliberately wore an immoral dress that revealed her private parts, intending to seduce her viewers, especially the rich Arab man, Sheikh Abdo. 1. The suspected teenage girl, of her own free will, accompanied Haja Shaza from Hajj Abdullah's house to her house. 2. The accused then exposed her entire sexy, naked body to the wealthy old Saudi man, Sheikh Abdo. 3. Therefore, she deliberately seduced him sexually and committed adultery with him to earn illicit money through prostitution. 4. The Saudi man Sheikh Abdo paid a generous sum of money to the pimp, Haja Shada, and the suspected prostitute Insaf. The police found the check inside the pocket of the murdered woman, which bore his and her names. This was the price for the illegal sexual nudity and adultery he committed with the suspected girl, Insaf. Based on the above-mentioned evidence, this court rejected the defendant Insaf Silla al-Junaid's claim that the pimp, Haja Shada, had kidnapped her, detained her, and wanted to force her to have sex with the police officer Yasser Talha as a sexual bribe to cover up and prevent her from being arrested and thrown in prison to face the consequences of her other crimes. Moreover, this court has rejected the accusation that the police officer Yasser Talha phoned Haja Shah and convinced her to detain the suspected girl in her house until he comes and blackmails her into having sex with him. Before announcing his ruling on the final charge, the judge paused for a moment and looked around. He seemed to want to make sure everything was perfect for his final verdict. Then he cleared his throat and said in a loud voice, "Accordingly, this court issued a death sentence by hanging to the girl, Insaf Silla al-Junaid, for the crime of killing the pimp, Haja Shada, due to a dispute over the division of the illicit money earned through whoredom. The court is over."